Hey everyone, you're listening to InfoQuench with Jeff
and Amy,
a podcast with tips to make your life easier.
Covering pop culture, parenting, travel, minimalism, and more.
Hey everybody, and welcome to InfoQuench. In this episode, we're going to be talking about dining out with your young ones.
Yes,
that's right.
We've got 17 rapid fire tips.
And if you don't have a young one, you could just find somebody that's relatively short and apply it to them. And when they go out and they could be young as well, and they could be somebody else's kid. If you don't have kids of your own, you could just borrow some other kid and do this and follow all these tips, and then you'll have a wonderful night out or morning or afternoon with your kids.
Right. Anybody who's vertically challenged would qualify for.
Anybody who's vertically challenged. That's right. I prefer, though, you just take someone else's kid. I'm not advocating that. I just think it would be fun.
So, rapid fire tips. I know. I tried to say rapid fire as slowly as I possibly could.
Do it again.
Rapid fire tips. So now I'm going to have to make up for all that lost time and actually talk about these tips quite quickly. Dining out with kids. So we have our son Hux is 6 now, and we've actually been taking him to restaurants since he was an infant.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of good and bad experiences.
He's been like the best luggage ever.
Yeah, he's awesome. But we've learned a lot through, I guess, the course of that. For us, I mean, we love dining out. We like going out to restaurants. We also enjoy traveling, and when you're traveling, it's kind of mandatory that you're eating out often.
Yep.
So you got to get your kids used to it, and for us, it was
you lay down the law, man.
Yeah, you do. There's no choices. No choices.
No choices.
It was essential for us, but I know some people wait until their kids are a bit older. I honestly think start early, get the practice in, and then when they get older, that'll be old school.
To be honest, I mean, we've never really had any very bad problems like with our little one.
Well, your memory might be a little short.
Maybe it is. We did leave a restaurant at least once or twice, didn't we?
I remember a few meltdowns where.
Okay.
Yeah, particularly when he was, I think before, maybe he was less than 6 months. I remember. Well, when I think back now, he was actually probably pretty quiet. When you have a kid and it's your own kid, and even if they're a month or two old, the sound of their crying is the loudest thing in the world.
Oh,
But now that when I hear a 3-month-old cry, it's like a kitten.
It's like a kitten. I know. It's an instantaneous annoying thing when you hear your own kid cry, in a very bratty way, let's just say.
And I think you become really self-conscious, and you think that everybody else must feel like it's as annoying. You think it's as annoying to them as it is for you to hear it.
Yeah.
But it truly isn't. I think we're just, as parents, we're a bit self-conscious.
It is to me, but no.
We think people are judging us, but really, get your kids out there, because most of the parents who are out in the restaurants, they've been there too. You'll see a lot of, knowing eyes and a lot of sympathy when you're going through meltdown mode. So, just bite the bullet and get her done. So let's talk about some tips.
All right, let's get to the tips.
The first thing,
tip number 1.
So this is one that we didn't do because we started Hux at such a young age. But if you have an older child and you haven't really hit the restaurant scene much, I read this one online. I think it was parenting.com who had it in an article. But it was just a practice at home at first. So I think this is just kind of a cute thing to do, but they talked about just having
you mentioned this to me earlier, and it does sound like a fun thing to do, because it's you're spending time with them, right?
Yeah, we'll have like a little tea party, so you get them to have their, maybe their stuffed animals, or if they have dolls, and set them up and do a little play restaurant, and just sort of go through some role play of what happens in the restaurant and the ordering, and it's a great time to practice manners in a really, calm environment. You're still in the home, and just sort of go through that and really, get them.
Yeah, get them to make their own menu and have fun with it.
Yeah, get them used to the experience before you even head out the door.
One thing, though, that you definitely cannot miss, like when you're doing this role playing with your kids, is get them to pay. Get them,
Oh, yeah.
Get them to understand how to use
That goes
a
without
credit
saying.
card that is like made out of paper.
Yeah, you make sure they bring their piggy bank with
Yeah,
them.
because no free rides, people.
No, pay your way.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't care if if you're not even eating solid foods yet.
Yeah.
No excuses.
Yeah. You eat those peanuts.
So that's the first tip, is practice at home. Number 2 is choose your restaurant carefully. So there are some restaurants that offer free meals for kids. Pick those restaurants often for, no reason other than to be a cheapskate.
And they usually love seeing the kids growing up too. I mean, we go to one particular restaurant, and they've known our little guy since he was like an infant, and now he's 6.
Usually when they have free kids meals, it also means that they're a family-friendly restaurant, and the wait staff are probably going to be a little bit more accommodating. The people who are, other patrons there are used to the environment, so they're, that's the environment everybody expects. If you're going to a fine dining restaurant, it can be a little more, I guess, awkward if your child has a meltdown and there's linens and fine china involved. So pick your restaurant that's, a suitable restaurant. One that, you might not want to be picking a restaurant that only has a certain type of, if it's maybe an ethnic specialty food restaurant and they don't have a kids menu, and you might have a child that has, specific taste or
aversion. Actually,
yeah,
it's kids that are so fussy they won't eat anything.
That's right.
Except for some reason, our little guy loves bread, so we just fill him with bread. He's
he loves bread.
Yeah, he's like a bird you're not supposed to feed, but we feed him bread.
So tip number 3 is just time it right. Pick the right time of day. Don't go during the middle of nap time. For God's sake, don't go when your kid is tired. Make sure they are well rested, because that is the best way to go in. Make sure they're well rested, not overly hungry, and choose some non-peak times. So if you go, mid-afternoon, have an earlier supper, the restaurant isn't going to be as busy, so there's not as many people there. So if there is, a bit of a meltdown or disruption, it's not going to be it's not going to be overly chaotic for you. If it's not super busy, the food will come faster, so you're not there as long. So yeah, timing it right, I think, is a key tip.
A good restaurant will know to take the order from the child, what they want, to bring it out first so that they can get a head start.
Right. So that's some of my other tips are around the ordering.
Oh, sorry. I ruined it again. Am I going to make it to the next podcast?
Yeah, you're fired.
I'm out of here, man.
You're fired. Number 4, set some expectations ahead of time. Have a conversation with your kids if they're able to talk.
You know what? Talk to them anyway, because it helps them to talk.
Just speak at them. But sure, you threaten them within an inch of their lives. No, don't do that. Definitely don't do that.
Don't follow that advice, people.
Set expectations about what what you expect them to be well-mannered, you expect them to be respectful, and let them know that if there is a situation where they're not listening, then, you may need to leave the restaurant early, and that there are consequences, just like anything else.
You got to still let them be kids, Usually,
don't let them be kids.
Whatever you do, don't let them be kids. Don't give them crayons to do their little placeholder thing. Don't, that's just going to keep them focused, and they won't be acting up, and so just don't do that. You want them to act up. I'm opposite man.
Tip number 5.
We're on 5?
I know.
How many of them are there?
Time flies. 17.
We better get going.
I know. I was just thinking the same thing. Bring activities to keep them busy. We actually have a restaurant bag that we keep in our car because we just never know when we might decide to eat out for a meal. So it's nice to just have it with us. And the restaurant bag just has coloring books, puzzle books, maze books.
Don't put leftovers in there like I did.
Don't put leftovers in there. Did you do that?
That pizza? Oh, no, I'm just making stuff up now.
Oh.
No, I really didn't do that.
You're just going for content.
Yeah, I'm going for content.
When you're, if you happen to get stuck where you don't have anything, you can always rely on the old I Spy or Simon Says, tried and true, don't need any equipment kind of games. But it's nice to have something that they can do on their own, keeps them busy. And if you're traveling, you don't want to be carrying a ton of stuff, even just having a sketchbook and some crayons. Crayons are good because you don't have to worry about them leaking in a suitcase, like pens and things. Crayons typically are a little less messy, although they roll like a bugger on the table. But but really, just crayons and paper can be enough to keep a kid busy through a meal. So make sure that you keep them busy. Respect the fact that they're kids and their attention span is short, and sitting at a table is going to be boring for them.
Oh, yeah.
When you arrive at the restaurant, think about your seating. So if there's a corner table or someplace that's maybe a little bit off to the side, it might be a better option for you. It might be less, visually distracting for, if your kid has if there's televisions in the restaurant.
There may be a solitary confinement room too.
Well, yeah, you could just throw them in the closet.
Remember there was one at the airport? It's just all these kids were in there and all the parents were just drinking.
It
was really quite funny. The lounge.
Montego Bay Club. What was it called?
It was almost like, it was really interesting because as you walked by, it was just like, it almost looked like you were in a zoo and these kids were in there like entertaining all the, and they were just playing and stuff, but it was like they were on display. It was really interesting.
It was a very interesting concept. So think about your seating.
Yeah, sorry, I'm diversion man now.
That's okay. It's okay. We don't have to go strictly by my list.
We have to get through it, though. We have to get through it.
If there's a booth, you might want to think about a booth. It kind of helps keep the kids contained. If they're runners, they tend to climb in and out of their chairs. Having a booth can kind of keep them locked in a little bit. Although if they tend to drop their toys, and you might be perpetually underneath the table, smashing your head against the table, trying to pick up stuff off the floor of the booth. So, but I still think a booth is a good way to go. And it also just kind of keeps them focused in your little area, keeps them less distracted. And
it's not fun though when you're at like a pub / restaurant and they slide down on the cushion of the and then all of a sudden they're on the sticky floor trying to get their crayon and stuff.
Climbing underneath.
Climbing underneath. That's not a good thing about booths, but that's anywhere in that kind of restaurant.
No, it's like a black hole under there.
It's a black hole. You're like, don't go down there. I remember so many times you're like, get out of there. You're going to die.
Well,
the crocodiles are going to get you.
They clean underneath those very well. I mean, it's a booth, right? You just think it's so hard for the staff to even get
the
in
staff
there
look
clean.
At that and go, only feet go there. Who cares?
So that you don't want to see your kid climbing
Meanwhile,
around
your
on the
kid's
floor.
down there and it's like tar.
And you're like, what's stuck under the table? And anyway. So next tip number 7 is just to order your stuff as soon as you get there. If you can look online at your menu ahead of time, or if a restaurant you're going to often, you probably know what you're going to order anyway, but just order as soon as you sit down. Again, keeping in mind that your kids are going to get bored. So don't push the limits. Just
sometimes
get
I get bored.
ordered. And ask for their stuff to be brought out a few minutes sooner. So their stuff probably needs to cool a little bit, so that just so you can all eat together. Maybe ask for their plate to come out before everybody else. That way you can cut it up and let it cool.
Especially if it's pizza.
Yes.
Because pizza takes a while, and it's hot for a while.
Well, that's right. The cheese kind of locks in the heat and the steam.
Yeah. I I don't know how many podcasts we've done, but I'm starting to feel like my role is to divert you from the actual list that you're trying to do. It's almost like a game where I start talking about nothing that has to do with the list, or maybe just like a little, diversion. But
so my challenge is to keep us on track.
I know, and you're doing really well. Although I'm winning right now.
Tip number 8.
Okay, go ahead.
Tip number 8 is don't count out don't focus on the full-on meals. Depending on kids do not eat full meals at a young age for the most part. So don't. Maybe you want to just do an appetizer, or even better yet, just share some of your own meal. So usually we'll just get an extra plate.
We do that,
and we'll
all
give
the
them
time.
a little bit of my meal and a little bit of Jeff's meal, and lots of extra napkins. Ask for lots of extra napkins because you're going to need them for.
And throw them in your pocket before you leave, because you might need them just before you even get to the car.
You just want free napkins whenever you can get them.
Yeah, and
That's
ketchup
a good
packets.
rule of thumb. Yeah.
Oh, we've got a fridge full of those. It's amazing. You should see it. It's crazy. No, I'm just joking.
Good job.
We supply McDonald's. Oh.
Tip number 9.
I had to say McDonald's. Okay, go ahead.
Encourage your kids to order their food directly from the server. This is for children who can actually talk.
No, I think it's better to do it as a baby. Just like, what's your order, sir?
Yeah.
And they're
You're
just
teaching
looking
your
at
child
you.
like sign language.
Cuckoo.
If you could teach
Okay,
them
would
sign
you like-
language and ask them to order via sign language.
That's so funny. Look what my kid can do. Yes, but I don't know sign language. I'm just a server.
Especially it's like baby sign language. It's not even real sign language. It's just like made up symbols that parents teach.
Now who's on a diversion?
I know.
We both
So
are.
if your child is old enough to speak, have them order their own food. Hux is always it was a little bit nervous doing this at first, but now he's pretty good at it. And again, it teaches the importance of making eye contact and just general communication skills.
Yeah,
So
it is a good thing to do. Get them used to living life and all that crap.
tip number 10, consider it a family date night or date afternoon or date morning, depending on when you're eating.
We have to do a group hug at the end of the night.
But what I mean by this is just, include them in the conversation. So even though you're bringing activities to kind of keep them busy, also make sure that they're part of the experience, because part of dining out is sitting back and, not having to worry about preparing the food and
No,
clean
ignoring them doesn't work at all. Not that we've ever done that. I'm just saying, if you got to have them part of the conversation. Back to the list.
Speaking of cleaning up, tip number 11, if you have like significant, like above and beyond level toddler spills, help the staff clean up. Some people may disagree with this and say, oh, but that's their job. Well, I kind of disagree. If you're going above and beyond, your kid's making a bloody disaster area of the, where you're seated.
One of the things that I
Why
noticed.
not help? Like, just be courteous and help do a little bit of cleanup.
Yeah.
Like, pick up the million French fries that they
Well,
dropped.
another thing is I notice a lot of people don't, gather up all the dishes for the servers and stuff. We always do that. I mean, we just do it.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people just leave their dishes just in disarray all over the table and stuff. But it really does help the server if you just stack up all the plates and put all the glasses together and get all the uneaten food and put
Well,
it
I've
in.
learned that from my friends who have been servers too.
Yeah.
I watch them do it, and they say that servers appreciate that. So it's helpful and
saves them time throughout the day. If everybody did that, they'd
Yeah.
be working a lot less.
and I just
Not a lot less, but you know what I mean.
I just like to do it because I just like to put things in order, and that's part of who I am.
What number are we on?
Number 12.
Oh,
Tip
we
number
only have
12,
17.
Always put lids on their cups, people. Always.
Lids on the cups.
If
yeah.
there is a cup without a lid in
Yeah.
a restaurant, it will be spilled.
Yeah.
That is a rule. I don't make these rules. Nature makes these rules.
I don't know who makes the rules either, but you are absolutely right. If there is something to be spilt and there's no lid on it, then that's it.
Now, obviously, if your kids are older, they're probably a little bit more adept at handling open glasses. But we've actually gone to restaurants that even if they didn't have kid-specific cups, they would use they break up like a coffee cup with a coffee lid, even a straw.
Yeah.
But when Hux was really young, we would actually travel with our own sippy cups. So that brings me on to tip number 13 is
13.
to bring your own supplies.
What supplies?
So
what do you mean?
we when Hux was
Mountain
super
climbing
young
supplies?
again, we would have like those might be beneficial if you're dining on a mountain.
What kind of supplies?
Well, if you have a diaper bag, you're probably equipped with a lot of supplies anyway. But some of the things would be you could actually travel with a sippy cup.
Oh, yes, I see.
So restaurants don't typically have sippy cups, or even if your toddler's using utensils that have or special toddler utensils where they're learning to use a spoon and they have like a bigger grip. So if you have some special utensils that they're learning to use, and just feel free to bring those along. Put them in a plastic bag. And even a wet face cloth in a Ziploc bag can be great for just doing cleanup, and even if you're going to a restaurant and they bring out like a disgusting high chair, which sometimes they do.
Yes, I've seen that before.
Yeah. And we actually had a portable cover that was like a vinyl cover that we could use on the high chairs, and it also worked on a shopping cart. It was really great, and you could just wash it when you get home. But if you don't have that, even if you have wipes or something, you can do a quick cleanup. So travel with some supplies. Number 14 is just respect your other diners. If your kid is having a meltdown and you need to make an exit, just like you take your kid outside or to to the car for a few minutes to kind of get things under control, then do that. Because I guess just having an understanding that people are there to relax and enjoy their dining experience too. So I think
that's always been a big one with us. We just, you're disturbing the whole restaurant by crying.
I always find it less, we really haven't had it happen a lot, but when Hux was really small, he was an infant, that I found it less stressful for me if I just took him to another area and was quiet, and I didn't have to worry about people judging or whatever. I just found the whole experience a lot easier if I went to a calmer place until he was calmed down. And again, it didn't happen very often, but just keep in mind other diners. Number 15 is be prepared to leave completely.
Oh, we have done that, man. We were just like, all right, we're out.
I think there was one time where we had to, before the food even hit the table, the waitress came over and we're like, we'll just take that to go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that happens to a lot of parents, but we were done. It's just, okay, that's it. We're done. We're not going to put up with, the yanging and the disturbing the other patrons. That's it, buddy. We are out of here.
And it's not the end of the world. You're still getting a nicely prepared meal. You take it home, put your kid to bed, and just enjoy. You can even have a candlelit meal at home, and and be relaxed. There's no sense in putting yourself through the stress if it's not meant to be on that excursion. Then
that's right.
Cut it short. Take the food to go. Number 16 is just practice. Yeah. So we talked about having a few meltdown situations, but we just
I still practice dining out myself.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still not very good at it, but I try. I mean, really though, like the last complaint I had was that, the high chair it didn't fit me. So, and it was dirty, but I brought my supplies, so I cleaned it up, but I sat in a chair.
Yeah, there was no place to put your beer.
No place to put my beer, and I was upset. But I'm practicing, and that's what everybody else that's listening should do as well. When you go out to dine, practice every single time doing something different. Do it better. Do it with soul. Do it with invigoration. Right?
Yes.
How's that for
That's exact. Well, so.
That's exactly what you were going to say? Is that what you're going to say?
That was exactly what I was going to say.
Wow, that would have been amazing. That's why we're together, baby. Just you and me.
Word, you read my mind. It's you might have one bad experience and be traumatized, but it's so worth it just to have your kids, go through it again and again. Eventually, it gets easier every time. And really, I mean, Hunks is 6 now, and we haven't had issues for a few years. So it's been a long time since we've had a meltdown situation.
Oh yeah, long.
He understands the concept of the restaurant, and it's just a great time to practice etiquette and manners. I mean, we're not always eating in a formal dining situation in our house. It's
no, it's pretty laid back.
We're pretty laid back in terms of how we do our supper rituals at home. So, but it's important for kids to understand basic etiquette. Waiting for everybody to have their food before they start eating, understanding where their napkin goes, understanding just not.
It's stuff that they're going to have to know later on down the road. So why not teach them as early as possible?
So practice.
Life skills.
My last tip, number 17, is to tip.
Yeah, definitely tip. Tip properly as well,
Well, I think if you, I always feel like you should tip based on service, but also take into account that if you have had a difficult situation, or if you've left maybe a little bit of an extra mess, just take into consideration the staff that need to address that mess after you've gone.
Oh, I know. Just be conscientious, basically, about everything. When you go into the dining experience, make sure that you kind of try at least to get the kid under control a little bit. That's one of my pet peeves, is when you're at a restaurant, and I mean, I'm all for letting kids be kids, but when they're just running around and causing a ruckus and stuff,
I agree completely.
There's no repercussions for them. It's just, all they do is they just annoy the other patrons.
Yeah.
Meaning me.
I mean, yeah. That's not something that we've allowed is to happen.
Oh
is to
no,
have,
I don't think it's ever happened. Thank goodness. But we're pretty strict parents for the most part. I think you need to be strict early on. You know.
Well, yeah, I think if you're strict early on, it makes it easier in the long run.
Yeah, because they learn the fundamentals of what they can and cannot do, and just like we do as like grown-up human beings.
Yeah, you lay the ground rules early, and
for us, it's called law, but never stopped me. You know, just saying.
So the last tip around tipping actually makes me think that we'll probably do a future episode on tipping.
Yeah,
I think
there's a lot of different perspectives.
That's an interesting topic, right? Because there's tipping for restaurants, there's tipping for other services. Like
when do you and when do you
hairdressers,
not tip, right?
And then some people will tip at Tim Hortons, but they don't tip at McDonald's. And how do people decide when to tip? So
I know it's an interesting debate, which is made famous in what was it, Pulp Fiction? I think it was Pulp Fiction. They had a big monologue about tipping. And have you heard it? Have you seen?
Oh, I've seen Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember the dialogue around.
Pretty sure it was maybe. Oh, it would be cool to do like a little
clip.
A little clip right now.
You probably have to pay for like rights.
Nah, they won't even know.
Yeah.
You know, we're not big wigs yet, baby.
Google's probably like scanning the internet for.
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know.
Violations of.
What do you think? We'll do a poll. Should we do it or should we not? No. You probably already know it anyways. Everybody listening has seen Pulp Fiction, but there's a really famous. Well, I don't know about famous, but interesting.
I can't even remember Pulp Fiction. I remember the ear being cut off. I remember Mr. Pink.
Yeah. It was like, who didn't tip, you know?
Oh, no, wait. I'm thinking of Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, yeah, no, you are. You're thinking of the wrong movie. That's right. No wonder you can't think of that dialogue.
Was it the wolf? Was the wolf in Pulp Fiction?
The wolf was in Pulp Fiction, yes.
He does the cleanup?
That's Harvey Keitel.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's coming back to me now.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I saw that when it came out at the theater with my friend Jason, and we came out of there, and I was honestly weirdly disoriented for a little while after seeing that movie, because I'd never seen a movie that skipped around like that in the narrative and timelines and stuff, and it was mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, you're right. I think that was probably one of the first movies that did that.
Yeah, well, Tarantino's famous for stealing the ideas of other filmmakers, which I don't really have a problem with per se, because I think all filmmakers do that to a degree. But he really, you know, like we talked about Amy Schumer stealing the jokes. Well, he stole, you know, frame by frame ideas from other.
Oh, really?
Well, kind of. Yeah, I would say. I mean, you know, there's some videos on YouTube that you can check out where they do side by side, you know, whatever of an old film and then Tarantino's film, you know. So I can't think of the word, side by side, you know, things. Comparison. Thank you very much for that word, because I didn't have it right then at all. And it's already left me again.
I'm here for the words.
It's already left me again.
Else. Okay, so yeah, we'll have to do a future episode on tips. I don't know if the next episode will be on
just
that.
The tips.
Might have just the tips. But I'll have to do a little bit more research on that, I think, because there's
tips on tips.
A lot to that.
That's what we'll call it. Tips on tips.
Tips on tips. So thanks for listening. If you don't have kids, maybe you just learn some tips for yourself that you
It's time to have kids.
Bring some if you're going out and dining on your own, just make sure you bring some coloring books to keep yourself occupied and do not make a mess. And if you do make a mess, leave a great tip for your wait staff.
Have the kids to match the podcast, okay? Anyways, thanks for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time on InfoQuench.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.
Be sure to visit InfoQuench.com to subscribe and catch up on past episodes.
You can also check out InfoQuench on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Till next time.